Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're playing an aggro dragon deck in Unlimited. This isn't the more popular aggro dragon deck, this is just one that I thought looked reasonably interesting and had a more, I would say, cheaper kind of go for it. I mean, it's still reasonably expensive with a total of 9 legendaries, but that's not too bad overall, and in general aggro dragon decks tend to be reasonably cheap, so this one kind of works better with the Dragonclaw pendant and of course a lot of the low drop stuff being pretty prominent. But overall it wasn't the worst deck, it wasn't the best deck. I would say this is very middle ground, probably around high tier 3, low tier 2, probably more towards that tier 3 though with this kind of deck, at least in personal opinion. After all, tier lists are only opinions, so not too bad at all. I mean, the curve is nice, which always works out, and we'll get right into it. So first up we have Haven. Haven always keeps things interesting and fresh, especially in Unlimited format where they have quite a few variations of Haven deck floating around.
Is fighting and despair all you know?
So Dark Dragoon, Goblin and Prime Dragon Keeper are all reasonable cards, but I do prefer to keep the Goblin and aim for a nice 2 or 3 drop to go with that, just so I can curve out well for the aggro. And PDK isn't usually too bad to get when you need it a little later on, so holding on to that sometimes isn't the best choice. Other times it is. It's really a personal preference at that point. I also haven't had a lot of time with Aggro Dragon, meaning I'm not sure about every single line of play, so please keep that in mind while watching the video.
The stars always shine.
So they go for a pretty early set of drops, where we can pretty much go the same sort of thing.
Stop!
I mean, it's going to force this trade, hopefully. I'm between Beowulf and Pure Heart. I think Pure Heart's definitely a good choice.
This song's for you.
Free draw plus setting up a future draw always works out well, and we got a couple of our Mushas, so they're going to be great.
Can you hear it? The bells of joy!
So Shining Bellringer coming in to be fun.
This song's for you.
I probably should have went for the double Moosh and then evolved one of these either Goblin or Pure Hearted, rammed it and then ran the other one and had 2 4/2s, but hindsight's 20/20.
Stop!
And in this case I didn't see that. But we do have plenty of evolves to continue to boost those, so it's not like it's a big concern either.
You're done for.
So Princess Snow White gets her drop.
Kiss will awaken me.
Pretty natural. And I don't really have anything else other than the Beowulf here. I mean, with an evolve trade, it's possible to remove this and send 3 to face.
He's feeling hungry.
And it's not like I really have any other choice at the moment, because I didn't really have great draws.
Armor weapons more.
Probably could have went with the Dragonclaw pendant, but then again, I'd be in the same sort of position where I would have only forced a couple of damage and it wouldn't have been that great. Not that turn anyway.
Let us conclude.
Always a funny card to fight. Especially when it negates all my damage.
I feel no pain.
Did you like it?
So we still have a 3/2, which we can take advantage of. The Dragonclaw even buffs that slightly to a 4 when I'm attacking, so that works out. And we so far haven't actually taken any damage, so we should be able to secure a game pretty quickly in the next few turns. So removing this 3/7 is going to be extremely important. And it looks like Dragoon Scyther is perfect for that use. Especially when we can instantly follow up with some reasonable cards. So I may not get the evolve on both of these, but getting the evolve on just one of them is good enough, because it will give us a 4/2 and a 4/4, so the equivalent of a half evolve, I guess, on that.
The sky is
There's the Aether of Whitewing.
From the heavens above,
Pull another Heavenly Knight.
crystals of snow shimmer in the night.
Ruining my party, as you can tell. And we have all our Dark Dragoons now. So go for the Sybil play. saying that healing is probably better than anything else at the moment. Even though I probably could have just traded the Dark Dragoon and the 4-2. I felt like losing all of that would be bad. And considering the fact that their stats will change, due to the fact that Heavenly Knight won't be able to deal 8 unless they play Summit, which we haven't seen so far, and if they had it, I'm sure they would have wanted it out a lot earlier.
Was I helpful to you?
So taking that kind of risk was pretty reasonable.
Crystals of snow shimmer in the night.
So nice trade. And of course, Tribunal ruining my day.
All must come to an end.
At least now it is a direct trade with the Dragoon, which is very easy.
These black wings are unbreakable.
And if we set up a couple of smaller drops, we should have some reach here, which is nice.
Die.
So that little bit of reach should hopefully be enough to be able to pressure a game soon, which is exactly what we want. Of course, Radiant Angel making this a lot harder. Haven really knows how to drag out a game, which moved this deck from being a really good aggro deck to a much worse aggro deck.
Crystals of snow.
That's why it's struggling right now, because I'm starting to run out of resources to actually deal damage with. And these forced trades aren't helping.
These black wings are unbreakable.
So right now, the best line of play is to just be able to extend as much as I can to the face while setting up board, and luckily the Pendant and Fire Lizard allow me to clear the 2-2 pretty nicely, so as long as I can stick any of this to the board, I should be pretty safe.
Crystals of snow shimmer in the night.
So it's just a matter of what are we going to
Sure, a
see
handful.
from their hand. Another Tribunal, see, that completely ruins that 5-1.
Worthy opponent.
The moon drives me crazy.
And Moon now coming down. That puts a real clock on what I can do. But I don't really have many lines of play left. Fortunately, that draw though, pretty good. So we can go wide on the board, we can get our damage in, which will hopefully set up a potential lethal next turn with this Dragoon. So all we have to hope is that they don't manage 2 damage. As long as they don't have a storm, we're pretty safe. We do clear out everything except this 1-1. So I need this to be a perfect swing. Unfortunately, it's not.
Black wings are unbreakable.
Absolute nightmare when something like that happens. If I had have been able to hit that swing on the 1-1, it would have been enough. Luckily, the Fire Lizard draw was enough anyway, so I did manage to work it out in the end. It was just a little bit of a pain to get there. But it worked, so we succeeded after a long game. So next up is Blood. Blood really shows itself as quite an aggressive deck, and even Control Blade can be reasonably aggressive in the early game. So it's just a matter of outvaluing what Blood can do every single turn as much as I can. Obviously Control Blood is a pretty lackluster matchup when you're playing something like Aggro Dragon running PDKs, because they will have a pretty good amount of counters if it is a Control Blood, but seeing the Goblin come down first kind of leads me to think that it's an Aggro Blood. So we got some okay plays. I mean, that trade was always fairly good, and being able to set up a wide board is always what I want to do in an aggro deck. Going wide is always important.
Shed tears of joy, I've arrived.
So this is the only setup I don't like, mainly because the trade I make isn't very good. The fire bat triggers first, and then my last word effect triggers, which then targeted the bat instead of the 3-1, which would have been 100 times better than what it triggered, but
Gobby's feeling hungry.
unfortunately it just didn't go my way, so in the end it would have been better if I just traded the 2-1 first, and then used the 1-1 to clear the bat, which would have left them with an empty board instead of having a bat left, so minor misplays I guess, or just lack of planning. Luriel gets its little ping off and allows them to ram into something on my board. They actually get both traded, which is fairly decent. And I'm not too worried about the Urias overall, so I do go for the Dragon first, even though I probably could have went for something like Dragon Summoner first, and then evolved instead, but either way I think this was fine. And evolving this one is probably better because it means that for them to kill it, it requires them to be pinged for one, something else on their board. Which means playing anything next before trading the Lirial could be bad.
It's me,
But Vania gets to come down.
Go Blood
So you're definitely seeing an aggro blood,
Blood
which means about turn 6 is when they'll start to burn out. Whereas this deck just kind of gets stronger once you reach turn 6 with its Storm Followers and PDK potential, so it's an interesting contrast in aggression.
You follow behind.
So we do get the Sybil, not that that's much use to me right now other than just
He's still no
being
match for
usable for
Mr.
heal.
Dragon.
It won't be long now.
And we get the same ramp out of this Dragon Sword with the Evolve. I probably should have went for the Sybil, but
You just
still felt
think
like this was okay because it means I could actually clear 2 instead of 1, which in the grand scheme against an aggro blood deck is much more important. I mean, look at this, they have 3 cards,
Stay beautiful.
one of which of course now is Carabosse, so that kind of ruined any good plan I had.
Could've done worse.
But it does mean it's not going to be the worst thing to remove either. I mean, Prime Dragon Keeper plus Dragon is going to be perfect.
Still room for
And instant clear on that. Plus either a Dragon for a draw and an extra ping, can't really go wrong. And once we start healing with these Sibyls, there's really no way for blood to start coming back from that, at least not quickly. So I did get Dragon Summoner, but I think using all of what I've got available to me is just a little bit better, especially since I can go wide again,
Care to touch?
Your time. Return.
making this match a little easier. So now they're forced to remove this Prime Dragon Keeper to play anything else. Which they do have Dance of Death for, which works out pretty well for them. And now we finally get to start pumping out our Sybil. Which makes it very, very hard for this Bloodcraft deck to start coming back, because we're now healing 3, losing 1, so we're healing 2 basically every turn the Sybil gets to stick to this board. Because they guarantee the ping with the Carabosse, so once you account for that, it's not too bad, but we're so wide, probably just couldn't handle that. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I know this isn't the best aggro dragon deck. I know there is another one that is quite good, and I do plan on taking a look at that pretty soon, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. But this one at the time just caught my interest, especially running Dragonclaw Pendant. You don't see that very often, and I always wanted to give it a good go, especially in the unlimited format where it's of course available. So hope you guys enjoy it. Hit the like button, subscribe, and check out the deck list in the description below. And I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.